News is on your side tonight with new numbers ever since Nebraska lawmakers passed a bill allowing concealed carry without a permit.
Yes, it took effect in September. As Brian Mastery reports, the Douglas County Sheriff has seen big spikes when it comes to people lying on the federal forms.
Last week, Thomas Molsick in the yellow sweatshirt filled out paperwork at the Douglas County Sheriff so investigators could run a background check and issue him a purchase permit so he could buy a handgun. When the 40-year-old Omaha man returned yesterday, this time wearing a red hat, deputies were waiting, but not with a permit, instead with handcuffs. Investigators learned he had an outstanding felony warrant in Sarpy County for burglary.
We've got an intense human effort doing the background checks here at the Sheriff's Office.
But that effort is being taxed by the sheer numbers of people applying for a handgun purchase permit. Ever since state lawmakers passed LB 77, it allowed anyone who can legally buy a firearm to carry it and conceal it on their body without getting the extra permit. But you still need that purchase permit application, and those have been coming into the Douglas County Sheriff in record numbers. On average, before the change, the background check team would see around 400 applications a month. But since the law went into effect in September, handgun purchase permit applications increased by 203. October had a year-to-year monthly increase of 297. Large November and December increases as well. And then there's this difference.
In the last 4 months of 2023, we've denied 117 individuals for a handgun purchase permit. And most of those denials would be for a federal prohibitor.
Meaning the applicant lied on the form about being a felon, or ignored the fact that a judge had declared them mentally ill, or said they were a U.S. citizen when in fact they were in the country illegally. Because the application is a federal form, lying about it is now a felony. And the sheriff now has a new type of caseload for his detectives, already seeing major spikes in homicide rates, auto theft, and financial crimes.
It's a matter of what are you willing to not investigate so that you can investigate these fraudulent firearm applications.
It's not clear if this suspect who filled out an application was aware of the warrant. He was interviewed in June about an attempted burglary. The warrant wasn't issued until last month. According to court records, when Sarpy County deputies asked to see his phone regarding his whereabouts that night in question, investigators allege he factory reset it right in front of them. Douglas County Sheriff adds that he could certainly use extra manpower to follow up on this spike of those lying on federal background check forms. He says he's doing his best to move around resources, but many other cases certainly take priority. On your side, Brian Mastery, 6 News.
All right, thanks, Brian. The Supreme